Thanks for joining us for this high school bowling match between the Norristown Eagles and the Hatboro Horsham Hatters. Right now, Hatboro is in first place. Norristown is in second. We are showing you both the boys and girls matches, and if you haven't followed high school bowling, it's two teams of 5 players alternating shots on a pair of lanes. The boys are on 43 and 44, and the girls team is on 45 and 46. There you're just seeing Christopher Schock there with a strike in the first frame. Zach Hollock has also, our leadoff bowler for Norristown for the boys, has started off with a strike. And now Mike Holt will bowl in the first frame, the 4th bowler for Norristown. Mike comes in a little bit light there and leaves the 2-pin. That's a pretty easy pickup for a bowler to pick up. So we'll see if Mike can convert. Taking a look at the girls' side, Catherine O'Connor starts off with an 8 count there on lane 45 as Mike Holt back on 43 picks up that pesky 2-pin. All right, so for anyone watching at home, if you want to pick up the 610 spare, which Catherine has on 45, you want to stand usually to the left. You want to throw it hard and straight. And there is a little bit of an error there as the 6-pin goes in front of the 10. It wasn't fully executed the correct way, but still, it's not a bad thing to happen. At least you get 1 pin in count, but it would be nice to have the spare on that. And Hannah Bogarty now coming up on 45, throws it. Ball never turned into the pocket. Back on lane 43, Gordon Murphy spares it up there with a 7-pin. All right, Hannah has the 1-2-5. And that was perfect execution on that shot as we see Zach Hollock on lane 44. Well, Zach gets good pin carry there. The pins are carrying just the right way for Zach on that shot. He comes in light, but still gets them all to go. 2 strikes now for Zach. He has a double. All right, and for the girls, Sarah Kinsey, who is averaging 193 this year, is up. Throws a pretty nice ball. And it hooks a little high, leaves the baby split. The 3-10. Again, a little bowling tip at home. If you want to shoot this spare, you move your target, your feet left on the approach. Keep your target somewhere in the similar area as you've had it before on your strike line, and let's see if Sarah can convert. Let's see, right in between them, and she does. There you go, folks. That's a great way to shoot it right there. That's the textbook answer to that spare. Now we're going back to Christopher Schock for the boys on lane 44. Chris is left with the 8-10 split. That ball lost a lot of energy when it hit the pocket. So that's just a tough break. In this situation early on in the match, you just want to go for 1 pin. Pin total is extraordinarily important. As we mentioned today, we'll be bowling 3 games and adding the total pin count of those 3 games together for a 4th game, which theoretically is not bowled but counts as a 4th game with the total pins from 3 games added together. All right, Mike Holt now coming up in the 2nd frame, working on a spare. Will be shooting here. Mike is averaging 205 this season. And that ball's flush in the pocket. Big strike for Mike. He has really gotten better over the years. I've been personally watching him. He just keeps improving his game. And now Gordon Murphy working on a spare, shooting now in the second frame. And Gordon is another player who has just extraordinarily gotten better at time. And he gets the Brooklyn strike. Now, what I mean by Brooklyn is the ball goes to the opposite side of the head pin for a right-hander. He hits the left side of the head pin. We call it Brooklyn or Jersey. You'll hear that probably a few more times during this broadcast. As Zach Holock is in the pocket again and gets the Swisher zone strike again. That's 3 in a row for Zach Holock. He has a turkey going for him. And back to the girls, and Ashley Harrell is now shooting on 46. She has been faced here with the 4-pin, and ball slides right by, so that's an open frame. Right now in the second frame, for the girls, there's 1 mark and 2 open frames. Now moving back to the boys, and Christopher Schock now on lane 43. Now, one thing, too, that these bowlers are going to be faced with throughout the day is the transitioning of the lane surfaces. The conditioner will wear off. And Chris Schock comes up with a strike there on lane 43. Nice shot by Chris. So he was working on an open. Michael Holt now shooting in the third frame is working on a strike. Talk about lane conditioner. The lane oil will be moving down lane and it will be evaporating throughout the game. And players will have to make adjustments, especially when you have 5 bowlers bowling on a pair of lanes. It really alters the lane surface. So again, this is just going to show you the talent of these individuals and how they can make adjustments to the ever-changing lane conditions. And Michael Holt will pick up that spare. He had the 2-pin there. And that's going to bring up Gordon Murphy. Hatboro Horsham, who is in the lead in the conference, is not bowling too poorly at this point. But still, Norristown is having success where they're having more marks and spares than Hatboro Horsham at this point on the scoreboard. And Gordon Murphy catches another strike. Gordon gets a lot of power. He gets a lot of hand in that bowling ball. And that equals great pin carry. So Gordon doesn't have to be as accurate as other players, as Sarah Kinsey is light there on 45 for the girls. Right now the total score so far, as we are moving towards the 4th frame, in the boys match here, is 237 to 209 at this point. So Norristown is in the lead early on, as the Hatters of Hatboro Horsham now are finishing it up on 44 and starting their next run on lane 43. And boy, that's a nasty split there on 43. Eight, 6. That's not a bad attempt there, as Zach Holock is now up on lane 44. Zach left side of the head pin, leaves the 6. Now Zach's going to throw this one straight at the 6-pin, and pretty easy conversion for a right-handed player. And Zach Holock trying to charge up his troops, as He converts. And Ashley Harrell for the girls team has just thrown a strike now in their third frame. The girls are down so far in their match, 152 to 139, but it's still early on there. They're only in the third frame. Chris Schock is up now on lane 44 for the boys, and he leaves the 5-10 split. And for the Hatboro Horsham, nice ring and 10 pin there on lane 43. 6 pin goes around the 10 when the ball hits the pocket. It's called a ring and 10 for you at home. And here's Chris Schock. I think he would probably go for one on this ball. Let's see. Oh, he's going for it, and he whiffs on the 5 pin. And pin count's important, and that in such an early way in the match, I'd at least try to get one pin rather than trying to convert, because every pin, especially in high school team bowling, counts, and you don't want to give up pin count. And Michael Holt, spare strike now in the 4th frame, and that'll bring up Gordon Murphy, who's working on a double, shooting now in the 4th frame. Hatboro Horsham answers with a strike of their own. Here's Gordon. And Gordon Murphy has 3 strikes in a row. All right, back to live action here. Zach Hollock is going for the 7 pin, and he nails it there. And that's another spare for him. So he has a spare up in the 5th frame, and now Norristown will be shooting now in the 5th frame on lane 43 as the Hatters are on their 5th frame on lane 44. I have to tell you, I'm already impressed with a few of these players already for Hatboro Horsham. We've seen a few left-handers already, and they do a good job. All right, as you can see there, open frame for Chris Schock. That's his 2nd open frame of the match. And Mike Holt is working on a strike, and he hits Jersey again, and they all go down. So that's a double for Mike Holt. He'll take it. Gordon Murphy working on 3 strikes in a row. Gordon is faced with a 4-pin. And Hatboro Horsham strikes again. That's a double for their anchor bowler. The anchor bowler is the 5th bowler. He is usually the strongest bowler in matches, and it's usually exciting, and I can tell from experience that bowling in the anchor position is truly an exciting feat, especially when your team needs to have 3 strikes to win and you're the last bowler and you have to throw the 3 strikes. I have to tell you, there's not a feeling like it ever. And it gets to be a lot of fun after a while. But let's see, Zach Holock, he's working on a spare in the 5th frame using the full approach. Shooting now, and that ball, a perfect turn into the pocket for Zach, and he gets back in his striking ways. All right, Matt Grayowski with another strike. That's 4 in a row for him. He's really stringing the strikes together. And Michael Holt. Up now shooting. Lane 44, and that one is a much better shot as he's flush in the pocket there. All 10 back in the pit right there for Mike Holt. And Hatboro Horsham answers back. They're trying to spare right now in the 6th frame. Hatboro Horsham has 1 open frame and 2 marks. Moving on to their 4th bowler now, Gordon Murphy, up for Norristown right now. Gordon Murphy is what we'd like to call power player. He slides into the foul line, and he waits for his swing, and he really hits up on the bowling ball. And right there, he is faced with the 10-pin. It's a flat 10. That's kind of right when the 6-pin goes into the gutter and just lies there dead and doesn't come out at all. You know, that ball weakened a little bit, but when I mentioned power player, and you'll see it in Gordon's stance, his foot arrives at the foul line before his swing does. And that's what a power player does in bowling. Their foot arrives to the foul line, and then their swing catches up, and that's how they get that extra power, that extra lift. And that's what adds to revolutions on a bowling ball. It's really a big physics lesson, and we'll be getting into that a little bit later in today's broadcast, sort of describing some of the intricacies of the sport of bowling. Well, let's get back to the match right now as we have Zach Holag now shooting in this 7th frame. He's working on a strike. All right, Zach, it was a pretty smooth shot. That ball just did not turn into the pocket. .245 up for him. Norristown girls are trying to fight their way back. They're down 286 to 270 against the Hatboro Horsham's girls team right now. So Norristown's trying to fight their way back on that home front, and Zach Holag converts the .245 spare for Norristown. It's Matt Grayowski. He's working on 4 strikes in a row. Now shooting in the 7th. We'll try to make it 5. All right, that's a flat 10 pin. Matt's going to want to throw this cross lane and hard at the 10 pin. Now what I mean by cross lane is that he's going to want to stand to the left, throw over the center arrow, straight at the 10 pin. A lot of speed. You don't want this ball to hook. You don't want to do anything fancy. It just has to come cleanly off the hand. And you could see at the bottom of that swing, Matt just kind of really grabbed the ball, and that really forces the ball offline. So if you're watching at home, you really want to have a clean release of that 10-pin shot. You don't want to have any hand action in it at all. It's got to be a clean release. Keep that hand open, throw it hard and straight. All right, that'll bring up Chris Schock now on 43 for the boys, and he's working on a strike. Chris really lofts it over the foul line, and he is left with a 7-pin. And a bogey now for the girls. Ooh, look at that 6-pin come out of the channel there and just kick that 10 out of there. So Hannah has a strike now. She has a double now in the 5th frame. And the girls are actually up by a pin, 308 to 307 against the Hatboro Horsham Hatters. And Chris Schock back on 43 for the boys, converts on his 7-pin. And Michael Holt. Make that 4 in a row for Michael Holt on another great ball right there. Just guiding it right into the pocket. And Gordon Murphy will now be shooting in the 7th frame. He's working on a spare. Justin Platt for Hatboro Horsham. He's working on 3 in a row. Comes in high right there, leaving the 6-pin. And Gordon is faced with a little bit of a tricky spare here. He's got the 2, the sleeper 8, and the 4-pin. That 8-pin, we call it the sleeper because it's back there, and boy, it can really get you if you don't throw the ball correctly. Let's see if Gordon can pick this spare up. And he does. Perfect. Gordon has a lot of power, a lot of revolutions on that ball, and he's also got a lot of power for that type of shot. That ball drove right through the spare the right way. All right, Sarah McKeever up for the girls team now on 46. Loft leaves the 1-3-6-9. And now shooting on lane 44 is Zach Holock. Through the nose there for Zach, and he leaves the 6-10. Again, a spare you have to be pretty accurate on. If you're not, you can always have the risk of chopping the 6-pin away from the 10. And Zach picks it up the spare just right. Matt Grayowski is up now on lane 44, shooting in the 8th frame, working on an open frame. All right, Matt Grayowski gets a strike in that frame, and he's one person I'm looking for to be really an up-and-coming player on this Norristown team. I actually really like his style at this point. All right, and Chris Schock, somebody I know from bowling on Saturday morning leagues, is a really up-and-coming player as well, working on his game a lot, and throws another strike there on a spare there in the 7th frame. So his 8th frame, he has a strike. Now that'll bring up Mike Holt. That's one thing to say about all these players is they truly work on their game and they're trying to get better each and every season. Wow, and Mike crosses the head pin again, trips out the 610 for a strike. That's 5 in a row for Michael Holt. They're on 46, Catherine O'Connor with the spare. That'll bring up Hannah Bognane working on 2 strikes on lane 46 for the Lady Eagles, and getting back to Gordon Murphy. Gordon, oh! What a shot there by Gordon Murphy. He had the scout and the 6-pin working for him. The head pin went to the sideboard, came back and was ready to take out the 10-pin. It was coming for it. Like to call that the scout.